Hi, I'm Anika. I was recently transferred to a new school. My new classmates turned out to be nice, and I even found a new friend. Ricky and I had a lot in common. At first, everything was going great, but then one guy started bothering me. His name was Tyler. He was friends with several guys, and the whole school was afraid of them. When I first transferred, he was skipping classes, and when Tyler came back to school, my quiet life came to an end. Bullying the new girl probably seemed like a fun way to spend time for him. At first, he just teased and laughed at me. Then he would stand in my way and not let me pass. One time, Tyler even spilled water on my physics essay, but that was just the beginning. One day, before computer science class, I went to the bathroom. When I wanted to come out, I couldn't open the door. Tyler and his friends were laughing in the hallway. They had locked the door. Of course, I soon got out, but I was late for class anyway, and the teacher didn't let me take the test. Things couldn't go on like that, but I didn't know what to do. After classes, I asked Ricky over. We went to my room and ordered sushi. I told my friend about what had happened and asked for her advice. I can only imagine how hard it must be for you. Once Tyler has decided to bully someone, he won't ever leave them alone. Listen, what if he fell in love with you? I was so stunned I choked. What do you mean? Just make him fall in love with you. He will stop bullying you at once. It sounded crazy. Even if I tried to do that, there was no way I would succeed. Then my mom walked into my room. She had brought me something interesting. A new dress. What a surprise! I tried it on and it lifted my spirits. Of course, the next day, I wore it to school. However, when I was almost at the door, Tyler blocked my way. He looked me up and down and grinned. Why are you so dressed up? None of your business! I wanted to get past him, but he shoved me with his shoulder. I didn't know if he did it on purpose or not, but I fell right into a puddle. Terrible stains appeared on my dress, and I ended up covered in dirt. The bell rang, and Tyler and his friends left for class. Meanwhile, I had to run to the bathroom and clean myself up. It was easy enough to clean the dirt off my skin, but the dress was ruined. I was furious. Why wouldn't he just leave me alone? And of course, my first class that day was computer science. The teacher said that if I didn't change my behavior, I would be in deep trouble. Tyler quietly laughed, and I wanted to hit him with something heavy. After the class, Ricky asked me what had happened. Tyler, that's what happened. You know what? Your crazy idea isn't that bad. I will make him fall in love with me. Ricky and I spent the whole evening developing a plan. She suggested I become a rebel. You're too cute, and Tyler is a nasty bully. You need to be cool and tough to make him like you. After thinking it over a bit, I agreed, and we went shopping. I had some savings and spent them on new clothes. I bought torn jeans, a jacket, and army boots. While I was trying those clothes on, I figured out what makeup and hairstyle to choose. That weekend, Tyler was planning to throw a party, and the whole school was talking about it. Ricky suggested I come there and show everyone my new look. I reminded her that I hadn't been invited. But Ricky argued that showing up to a party without an invitation was quite rebellious. I was terribly nervous. I had to lie to my parents and say that I was staying over at Ricky's. After I changed my clothes and put on makeup, I didn't recognize myself. What a transformation! It was weird, but I even started to feel different, more confident and bolder. When I came to the party, Tyler was the one who opened the door. He gave a small whistle and immediately started flirting with me. Whoa, he didn't recognize me. I grinned and cheekily flirted back. That's when he realized who he was talking to and grew silent from shock. I had never seen him look so confused. I pushed him aside and walked into the house. I saw a lot of familiar faces at the party. Some people recognized and stared at me. Some came out to me and introduced themselves. I spent the evening laughing, dancing, and talking to everyone. In the middle of the party, my favorite song started playing, and I decided to do something rebellious. I swept aside all the dishes, climbed on top of the table, and really let loose. I danced without thinking about what anyone would say about me. When the music stopped, everyone applauded and whistled at me. Even Tyler. It was really cool. After that weekend, I waited until my parents had left for work. If they saw what I was wearing to school, they would definitely have questions. I didn't believe that the plan Ricky and I had come up with would work, so I was ready to argue with Tyler. However, he didn't bother me even once during that day. I only sometimes noticed him looking at me strangely. After classes, I went to a pet store. I had been working there for a long time. I kept everything in order and cleaned up after birds and small animals. Sometimes, like that day, I was left in charge and worked at the register. Everything was going as usual when some guys I recognized walked into the store. Those were Tyler's friends. They started looking around the store and grinning nastily. I immediately wanted to kick them out, but what if they wanted to buy something? I couldn't just chase away possible customers. One of them suddenly pushed the food off the counter. Several packages fell to the floor. Another guy shoved a scratching post and it fell to the floor as well. Litter and cat toys were next. I felt angrier by the second. Can you be more careful? We're just looking. While I was picking up the fallen goods, they came to the cages with hamsters and parrots. I lifted my head and realized they were about to set them free. That's when I ran out of patience. Not only did they bother me at school, but they had also come to the store I worked at. Without hesitation, I jumped on the back of one of the guys who was trying to open the parrot's cage. He lost his balance and we fell to the floor. The cage opened and birds started flying all over the store. It was real madness. The wind chimes tinkled and Tyler walked into the store. Great, just what I needed. I thought he was going to join his friends, but instead, Tyler shouted at them and told them to clean up everything. And you know what? They immediately put everything back in its place and helped me put the parrots back in their cages. Sorry about the mess. I asked them to do it. I wanted to see your reaction, but it turns out you can stand up for yourself. Not for the first time, I wished I could hit him with something. Our seduction plan was stupid after all. I rudely told Tyler to get out of the store before I called the police. I would have loved to see them be brought in for hooliganism. Oddly enough, they left. At the door, Tyler suddenly turned around and looked at me intently. See you at school. Of course, I didn't particularly want to go to school after hearing that. I put on my new clothes again to stay confident. I thought I was ready for anything, but it turned out I really wasn't. No sooner had I walked into the school than Tyler appeared in front of me. He took out a bouquet of flowers from behind his back and handed it to me. Was I dreaming? Had our crazy plan really worked? I ignored the flowers, as well as Tyler himself, and walked past him. But Tyler didn't give up. From that day on, he started constantly following me around and giving me various gifts. He also protected me from those who he believed bullied me. One day after a break, some guy pushed me by accident. Tyler saw it and immediately got into a fight with him. I tried to say that nothing terrible had happened, but nobody listened to me. As a result, the teachers noticed the fighting, and we were all taken to the principal's office. Mr. Hill was used to Tyler's antics, and he didn't really scold the guy who had pushed me either. However, I got an earful. They said I was provoking boys and criticized me for what I was wearing. He even called my parents to school. That had never happened to me before. When my parents found out about everything, they decided that I had fallen in with the wrong crowd and forbade me from talking to Tyler. It wasn't like I wanted to spend time with him. I would have been glad if he'd stayed away from me. But Tyler had different plans. After that incident, he followed me around absolutely everywhere. One day, he found me in a hallway when no one else was around. Listen, I know what I did was wrong. I hurt you a lot, but I really like you, Anika. Will you go on a date with me? I hesitated for a long time, but in the end, I agreed. I had an idea. Maybe if I started acting like I used to, he would leave me alone? Of course, I told Ricky about my plan and she agreed to help me. We decided that I would act as cute and dumb as possible on the date. I put on a pink dress and even put pins with ugly bows in my hair. I thought Tyler would be horrified by my appearance, but he didn't seem to notice anything at all. We went for a walk in the park. Tyler talked and joked a lot, treated me to ice cream, and acted differently than usual. He even admitted that he was going to skip school the next day to go to a football match with his friends. I hope the principal won't notice. I've skipped so many classes this month that I might get expelled. I asked him why he did it all. Was a football match worth it? But Tyler only joked and said that life was too boring if he didn't take any risks. Soon, we came to the cinema to watch a romantic comedy. Tyler spent the whole movie trying to kiss me. By the end of it, I was already sick of him. While Tyler was distracted by something, I quietly ran away to the bathroom. I locked myself in and sat there for almost half an hour. Tyler sent me a lot of messages, but I didn't reply. Then I cautiously peeked out, made sure that Tyler wasn't around, and went home. But my troubles didn't seem to end there. Some friends of my parents had also been at the cinema that day and seen me with Tyler. You used to be such a good girl. We're very disappointed in you. They grounded me and only allowed me to talk to Ricky. To be honest, it didn't bother me at all. Before going to bed, I read Tyler's messages. He'd asked me where I had gone and sent me a bunch of cute heart stickers. I groaned inwardly. Everything had only gotten worse. The next day, I decided it was time for extreme measures. What I was about to do was mean, but I had no other choice. I came to the principal and told him that Tyler was skipping school that day. Moreover, I did it in full view of everyone and did not shut the door so that our conversation could be overheard. I was hoping that Tyler would find out who ratted him out. Of course, that was exactly what happened. The next day, Tyler was called to the principal's office, and then he came up to me. Why did you do that? It's your own fault for skipping classes. Leave me alone. Tyler was right about one thing. Now, there was a real chance of him getting expelled. For the next few days, he walked around frowning and didn't talk to anyone. At first, I was happy. He had finally stopped bothering me, but the joy was quickly replaced with guilt. I shouldn't have gone that far. I also realized that I missed him. I kept thinking about our date. It had actually been pretty nice. When I talked to Ricky about it, she said that I had fallen in love with Tyler. Are you crazy? You should see the way you talk about him. I'm 100% sure you are in love with him. I thought about it all day and finally had to admit she was right. I really had fallen in love with Tyler. What a nightmare. How and when did it happen? Why hadn't I realized it before? I felt really stupid. But I knew one thing for sure. Tyler needed help. To make amends, I went to the principal again. I asked him not to kick Tyler out of school and promised to tutor him. Are you sure you can handle it? You've been having problems yourself recently. I said that I could definitely handle it and would help Tyler get his grades up in all subjects. The principal reluctantly agreed to give us another chance. After leaving his office, I immediately found Tyler and told him about the principal's decision. I hoped he would be happy, but Tyler kept frowning. We started studying after school every day. At first, I was afraid that Tyler wouldn't come, but he didn't skip our sessions even once. He probably really didn't want to get kicked out of school. I tried to make Tyler like me again, but all my attempts failed miserably. Tyler kept me at a distance. One day, I plucked up the courage and told him bluntly that I liked him. I'm really sorry about what happened. I really like you, and I want everything to be the same as before. Nothing will be as before. I don't forgive traitors. I felt horrible. I was in a terrible mood, and the only thing that saved me from complete despair was the pet store. One day, the owner told me that he had hired another employee. It turned out to be a guy my age. Reed and I got along from the get-go. He was very kind and loved animals. He even had a pet chinchilla that he often brought with him to the store. At first, we only met at work, but soon we started to hang out more. Reed often walked me home, and one day I invited him to come in for tea. My parents were at home, and they really liked Reed. I spent time with Reed and gradually forgot about Tyler. Speaking of Tyler, he was no longer in danger of being expelled, and our tutoring sessions soon came to an end. Now, we only met in class and didn't even say hello to each other. But one day, everything changed once more. I was walking home from school when he suddenly caught up to me and blocked my way, just like he used to. And then Tyler said something I hadn't been expecting at all. You know, I thought about it again and, well, I was wrong. I need you after all. Let's start over. I was shocked. Was he serious? I had only just started to get over him. It was so unexpected that I didn't know what to tell him. I just stood there and stared at him in silence. Pause dragged on, and I asked him to give me some time to think about it. I couldn't get him out of my head. Our relationship was like a swing. First, I pushed him away, then he did the same to me. I didn't know what to do. I still like Tyler, but I like Reed too. And it feels like I will never get over Tyler. What would you do if you were me? Should I give my relationship with Tyler another chance?